All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sports and Nothing Else podcast. I don't know what number of episode this is, so I'm not even going to try.
27.
Especially because we filmed one with our dad, and then I forgot to post it. So you're getting a double episode. So if you're listening to this one, there's one from last week sometime, actually maybe 2 weeks ago. That was fun. We had a lot of fun, did a lot of nostalgic stuff. So if you know us or our dad or all, that will be a fun one for you. So listen to that. But today is my birthday. Halfway to 70. Tough times for all. But Kyle asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said, let's film a podcast episode. So here we are. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm once again in the coldest room in the entire house, so it's great. If I start throwing blankets on, there's no heat in here.
Go for it. Well, we were good. We were freezing. We had an outside church event last night. It got down into the 50s by the end. So,
oh man,
we were dying out there.
That's tough. Honestly, though, it hasn't even really been that much colder here. So, thank you, global warming, for something, I guess.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a lot about basketball and football, which are the things going on right now. Listen, if you come here for college basketball analysis, here's my analysis. It's not really any fun to watch. You got these guys for 1 year. The tournament is great. We'll watch then. We'll give terrible takes because we haven't watched any all season. But other than that,
have you watched a single second of college basketball yet?
No,
because I have not.
No,
not even one. I haven't even seen a highlight.
I watched some highlights of Banchero and Holmgren because I wanted to have an informed opinion about who I thought was a better prospect, which I've already shared on this podcast, and I haven't changed my mind.
It's not yet. I did. The only second, even highlight of college basketball I've seen is that Houston kid picking up some trash after the game. That's it.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good for him. Good, and not good for whoever knocked it over. Yeah, college football, I do watch more of that than college basketball. But again, this isn't really a college football podcast. I think the playoff is intriguing. I don't think the Alabama-Cincinnati game is particularly intriguing because I think that's a walkover. But I think Michigan-Georgia is actually a great game. But if you're looking for a high-powered offense, those are not the teams. But that leads us to the NBA and the NFL, which is really interesting because I told Kyle to do his top 10 power rankings for the NFL, and he said, great, I've already done that for basketball, so you got to do it for basketball too. And as you look through this, there are so few good teams, it is staggering. There just are not a lot of teams to trust. So, Kyle, what sport do you want to start with today?
That doesn't matter to me. I have both listed, so whatever you want to do.
Let's start with the NBA. One of the two professional sports leagues currently being racked by COVID. Some of these lineups these teams are trotting out there are listen, we follow sports pretty closely, and we don't know who these guys are.
Did you hear the Richard Jefferson quote the other day while he was announcing a game? I forget who the teams were, but he said, little known fact here, this is actually the most fans that have ever attended a G League game.
It's fair.
And he was correct. I mean, there were like two starters. And if you look at like minutes played recently, by even like Kemba Walker, who was out of the Knicks rotation, played 42 minutes the other night. It's insane.
Yeah, he got buckets the other night too. Listen, there's a guy named David Duke playing. Not that David Duke, but there's someone actually decided to name their kid after Grand Wizard David Duke. Interesting choice. It's a wild time out there. So let's start at 10 because I think the top is pretty standard, but I want to see how different our lists are from 10 to 1. Does that sound good?
Yep.
And then we'll argue if we need to because I have a couple strong opinions, but much more strong opinions in the NFL when we get there because I actually watch the NFL. So
okay, so we're completely flipped because I have not watched football I always go through the stretch where I don't watch the NFL for like 3 straight weeks, and we're right in the midst of it. So my analysis for the NFL is just going to be top notch.
Well, listen, we're like an old married couple. We fill in each other's weaknesses. So this is perfect. Give me your number 10 NBA team.
Okay, so I actually had a tie for 10 and 11, and I actually went through 18 because I was conflicted. And to me, I love the NBA.
I know,
but to me, there are some very clear tiers in this top 10. And to me, basically, 8 through 18 are completely even. They're not good. None of these teams are going to make any runs at all. But to me, it's the Cavs and the Sixers that are battling for 10.
Okay. See, I had the Cavs at 11.
That's where I have them listed, but the Sixers at 10. And really, to me, and I didn't know how you did this, but to me, this is kind of where I think it could end up potentially. I mean, if a Ben Simmons trade happens, obviously the Sixers are going to jump up a little bit because in theory they're going to get someone impactful. But Cavs have been incredible, so it's hard to keep them out of the top 10.
Yeah, I love the Cavs. Evan Mobley, just sell me all his rookie cards right now. I don't know that they can sustain what they're doing. I don't think they're a danger to teams in the playoffs, like say the 76ers could be. I did kind of a if things get together on some of this for sure, because there's so few teams that have anything together right now. I mean, you can make an argument it's like 2. My number 10 team is the Memphis Grizzlies, because I don't know what to make of them. They play better when John Morant isn't there. They went on an incredible streak.
9-10.
Yeah, they immediately lost to the Thunder. He's over there in the first quarter yelling, "I'm back," fill in the blankers, and then they lost to the Grizzlies for no reason at all.
Hey, the Grizzlies, there's no way the Grizzlies lost to the Grizzlies, but they did lose.
Well, they lost to the Thunder. Yeah. So I have them at 10 because I'm not sure what to make of them.
Well, they're a much better defensive team when Ja doesn't play. And
yes,
Ja is awesome, but he has a lot of room to grow there. I mean, very Trae Youngish, where, I mean, the Hawks are clearly not going to be on either one of our lists because of their defense. And I think the Grizzlies are kind of in that same boat where they have a ton of guys and a ton of guys that are really, really young. So this team's really exciting, but I do think they're probably a year away.
All right. So that's 10. 9, you're going to laugh at my number 9, but I'm interested to hear what your number 9 is. Go ahead.
Mine is the Lakers.
Me too.
And there we go. So this is more, honestly, if this was today, I think the Lakers would probably be 14.
Like 16 or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they have to have some moves to make. Now, they don't have a lot of assets. They keep trying to talk up Taylor Horton-Tucker. I honestly think I'd rather have Isaiah Thomas, who they signed as a COVID call-up. There's not a lot here. You have to find a trade for Russell Westbrook. And I honestly, I would trade the Rockets. I'd do another John Wall for Russell Westbrook trade. I'd much rather have John Wall because he can pass.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could even, like, the way that they could stagger it is John Wall could run your second unit, and you have a guy who can just push pace with their young guys and run, and LeBron and AD can slow it down because we already know their 2-man game is unstoppable. And that's why the Lakers get to be at 9, is because we've seen it in the playoffs already with LeBron and AD just overpowering teams. And so they get the benefit of the doubt, even though they probably don't deserve it in the least.
The problem is that they're 500 and they've had one of the easiest schedules in the NBA so far. And now they have no AD for 4 weeks?
At least.
And I mean, you're getting a couple guys back, but Kendrick Nunn and Taylor Horton-Tucker are not exactly moving the needle here. So
it's tough. It's not great. But again, this speaks to the huge middle class in both the NBA and the NFL, honestly, right now, where it's just like there's a bunch of teams that you just go, and eventually they'll separate each other, but they don't in the NFL because the season is only 17 games, and you don't have that time to separate with like you do in 82 games. So now COVID, who knows? So, all right, who do you have at 8?
8, I have the Grizzlies, who we've already talked about.
Okay, so we just swapped the Grizz and the 76ers.
Okay.
I just, between the Ben Simmons potential and the fact that Embiid is, when he plays, has been just an absolute monster. Their ceiling, again, to me, is higher than some of those teams like the Cavs that have clearly had a better season than they have so far.
So here's my problem with the Sixers being high is what at this point do you actually think they're going to get for Ben Simmons? Because to me, best case scenario is probably Jeremy Grant and maybe a little bit like Sadiq Bey maybe thrown into that, or maybe McCollum, who has a collapsed lung. I mean, what is the best case scenario there?
I don't know. Role players, honestly. You just say, let Embiid cook. You still have Tobias Harris. Maybe a bigger wing of some kind that can guard, because we listen to the same podcasts again.
But you have Tybal. You have Tybal, though. Tybal is the ultimate bigger wing that can guard. Although he's a little small for threes, but
yeah, but he's a menace. So there's that. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Like the 3 teams I've listed so far, I have no idea what to make of any of them. So
correct.
That's a great start. All right, who do you have at 7? Our list could end up looking real similar, I have a feeling.
6 and 7, I went back and forth for a long time. So 7, I have the Heat, and if the Heat get healthy, they jump to 6. but I don't think
and
this
you
team
have the
is.
Jazz at 6.
I don't. No.
Oh, I have the Heat at 7, but I don't have the Jazz at 6.
Okay.
I do have the Jazz at 6. Is what I'm saying.
I have the Bulls is who I have at 6.
Oh, this is my one argument for okay. So you have Heat, Jazz, Heat, Bulls, Jazz.
Correct.
And I have Heat, Jazz, Bulls. This is my thing. I think the Bulls have way more flexibility when it comes to the playoffs than the Jazz do. And we've already seen it over and over again that the Jazz don't have enough. Their roster just doesn't do enough different things. They run into a bad matchup and they're done. And I think the Bulls have enough moving parts that they may be a better team as far as being prepared to play in the playoffs. That being said, I mean, I don't know if I should trust Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs because there's no real track record of having a reason to do so. So that's my argument.
So here's my Jazz argument. So the Jazz have the best offense in the league this year. So you think of the Jazz, you think of Gobert, you think defense. They have the 6th best defense in the NBA, which is pretty mediocre considering how good Gobert is. That being said, they have a 4-point spread between the second team in points scored as far as offensive efficiency. The spread, another 4-point spread, would be from the second team to the 20th team in the NBA. So their offense is absolutely insane, even with Gobert basically being a 0 on offense outside of pick and roll and completely dive to the basket. So they started really, really slow, and they've been insane since then. Mitchell has been incredibly efficient scoring. I mean, he's shooting over 60% from 2 this year. I actually think the Jazz could potentially even be higher than 5 for me.
All right. They're in a prove it mode to me. I mean, put it this way. If you started the playoffs right now, I wouldn't pick them over any of my 5 teams ahead of them. And that's how I feel.
That's fair.
That's all. But listen, the Bulls haven't proven anything either. They haven't made the playoffs. So maybe my critique is not correct. So
that being said, though, the Bulls have basically got nothing from Vucevic, who is, I mean, they traded half of their team for him last year as far as picks and assets and stuff. So there's definitely room for improvement there for them as well. And they lost their best defender who may play in the playoffs potentially.
Maybe, but probably not. But it's opened the door for Caruso, who's been pretty great, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lakers wish they had him. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
All right.
No kidding.
Number 4, I have the Brooklyn Nets.
So I have the Bucks. I have the Bucks here.
So
I swap back and forth. To me, they're pretty much even. To me, though, it's the potential of the Nets. I mean, if the Nets actually have their big 3 plus all their random people that are filling in and playing big minutes that are actually pretty good, they've done a fantastic job of filling out that roster. Now, people that I've never heard of that are actually playing legit minutes.
No, it's fair. I mean, Harden and Durant, if you're going to play with them, they suck so much energy from the defense to them. You can make some things happen if you. I mean, I feel like me and you could hit a few spot up threes playing with them.
Maybe.
But I think the Kyrie thing is still a circus. He's now in protocols. I don't know. Maybe they're trading him. Maybe I don't know. But in a series with the Bucks, let's say the Nets have the better record. That means that there's 4 games they don't have Kyrie Irving, as things stand. And so to me, that makes the Bucks the favorite in a series with them. But if let's say it feels like we're kind of at a weird crossroads with COVID right now, and things are going to start going in different directions, and maybe they have some intel that Kyrie will be welcomed back for everything sooner rather than later. Who knows? And if he is, then he should be number 1.
There has been a political shift in Brooklyn towards the right that probably is going to change that mandate. So there's a pretty good chance that by the playoffs, Kyrie will be welcomed back with open arms, vaccinated or not. That being said, I think once you get to number 4, you're in that top tier where these teams, you could flip a coin for me for any of the top 4.
But if the Nets have Kyrie Irving and everything else is at full strength, they're the best team in the NBA. I won't even accept an argument against it.
Nope.
And they were prepared to wipe the Bucks off the floor last year, and then injuries, and James Harden can't perform in the playoffs. But if he's their third banana, they're fine.
And honestly, a healthy Harden last year, and they
still win. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right. And if Kevin Durant wear two sizes smaller shoes, they also win. So I mean, there's a lot of things there. But the Bucks, there is something to that team having won a championship. You get over the hump, I don't know. I think if they get some steam going in the playoffs, they become really scary. Nets at full speed or not, I think they can still play with them. But we'll see. So,
and they probably have a move to make too. I mean, Bobby Portis has been awesome. You're going to get DiVincenzo back, and it's probably DiVincenzo in a second, and you upgrade somewhere, maybe get a wing defender.
Yeah, you might be right. All right, who's your number 2? This is interesting because this is.
Well, I have the Warriors at 2.
Me too. I think the Suns are a more complete team, but Klay Thompson is coming back still.
Well, and they've gotten zeros from their second first-round pick in Mooney, and from their first-round pick from last year, Wiseman, and from arguably their second best player, in Klay. So to me, it depends what Klay looks like. If Klay looks like a shell and Ryan Anderson running around shooting threes, he's still going to make them if he's wide open, doesn't have to move. But
but
we'll see.
Been their best defender for a long time, unless you want to
correct
call Draymond Green that. But he's chasing around wings and stuff. If he can't, that's a really interesting dynamic for their team. So
correct, but they have a million guys in that 6'4" to 6'7". I mean, you have Toscano Anderson, you have Draymond Green, you have Wiggins. Who's actually turned into the defender that people actually thought he was going to be in the draft and wasn't for the first 4 years in Minnesota. So yeah, I mean, to me, they have a ton of fallback. I mean, this is the difference between the Warriors in 2015 compared to the Warriors this year, is that they have so much depth. I mean, Kuminga could be that lockdown defender by the end of the year.
Eventually, maybe by 2024.
Yeah.
He's very young and very raw. He's like, realize he's like half my age.
Yeah, he's like 19.
It's ridiculous. Anyhow. And that puts us with number 1 is the Suns. We both agree. They look really good. Really good. The fact that they didn't max out Ayton looks just dumber and dumber by the day.
It's rough.
Ayton is awesome, and some team needs to make an outrageous offer to him in the offseason and make it hard on the Suns at least, and make them look like idiots. So yeah, that's a good-looking squad. The interesting thing with them in the future is that Chris Paul eventually he's just not going to be any good. And so they have kind of a big 3, but one's going to age out soon. So that's an interesting thing to watch. But Mikal Bridges is awesome. They just have guys. And, it's been mentioned multiple times, but if they hadn't made such a terrible pick last year on a guy they already cut with the 10th pick, they would be even deeper, which is kind of terrifying. But, it's the Suns for me. I think they've been the best team for most of the year. And we'll see where that goes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, this was a coin flip. If Curry's not rolling, then to me, the Suns are a considerably better team. If Curry's rolling, no one's beating them at all, especially if Klay comes back and has any sort of semblance of his own old self, because the spacing just becomes insane then.
Not Russell Westbrook?
Ugh.
Man, brutal.
Ugh.
All right, we're going to go in between sports here. You said this, Joel, this is for you. You said you have a COVID corner for us this week since both sports are dealing with an outrageous amount of COVID cases right now. Go ahead.
Okay, this is perfect. And it actually ties right into my NBA. So my COVID corner is not actually, it is COVID related, but really to me, it was my, from watching NBA in the last 2 weeks, the favorite names that popped up of guys that I forgot that they existed and that I loved. So I've got let me see how many I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8. Do you have any of these off the top of your head? Let's hear them.
Joe Johnson.
Yeah, he's on my list.
Yeah. Isaiah Thomas.
Second on my list.
David Duke.
Was not on the list, but.
I don't know. Go ahead. Read your list.
So we got Joe Johnson. Back to the Celtics. Celtics actually drafted him, which makes it kind of cool.
It was 19 years ago. Later. Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas back in the league, which makes me sad every time I think of Isaiah Thomas. He lost so much money. And there's video of him literally crying in like a pre-G League Summer League game because he scored like 20 points because he wants to be back in the NBA so bad. I have Tony Wroten on this list, not because he's actually back in the NBA, but because I thought he was, because his name popped up on a podcast I listened to the other day, and I loved Tony Wroten.
Yeah, you did.
Process point guard for the Sixers. I Googled him, and it turns out he's one of 18 players that was indicted in healthcare fraud to the NBA. They were submitting fake claims.
Like Baron Davis, a whole bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm. It was led by, it was Terrence Jones, I think, is who instigated the whole thing, lefty from the power forward for the
Kentucky
Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I went down that rabbit hole. I love Tony Roten though, but he's playing EuroLeague. CJ Miles, blast from the past, another lefty. Shaq Harrison, Brandon Knight is back in the league.
Another Kentucky boy.
Yeah, Nick Stauskas.
Wolverine.
And Lance Stevenson has nosed his way back in the NBA.
That's unbelievable. I knew he was playing on one of the more like former NBA player heavy G League teams, but that's pretty wild. So, well, welcome back to the NBA, all you guys. It's like the replacements out there. Mm-hmm. So, all right, you want to move to the NFL? I have nothing to add. I'm staying out of hot water today. All right, the NFL. I don't like any of these teams. I don't even like the teams I put first and second very much. But I know I don't like the teams at the bottom of my list. And this is one of those times where like record didn't mean a lot to me. I got teams all over the place. So who's your number 10 team? This is a mess. There could be I think you could put like 5 teams here and make a good argument for them. Did I lose you?
Oh, you're back.
I'm back. You back?
Let's go. Editing skills.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Who you got as your number 10 team?
Okay, number 10, I got the Bills.
Okay, I have the Bills on my list. I'm over it with the Bills.
Okay. Did you put the Chargers on your list? Because the Chargers are who I dropped off.
Chargers are my 10. Bills would have been 11 for me.
Okay. I debated back and forth.
Chargers upside to me is higher. I've mentioned on this podcast a few weeks ago, I think Josh Allen is that year, we're going to look back at that year, kind of like Josh Richardson NBA year, the one year he shot like 38% from 3 and go, that's not actually who that guy is. He's still super talented, and when he has the ball in his hands, he's terrifying. But I don't think he's going to be 71% ever again in his career. And so that team's ceiling is not as high as I think everybody thought it was. I think they're going to lose to the Patriots again this week. Speaking of COVID corner, bye-bye Cole Beasley. And I think that drops them off this list, so I didn't even bother putting them on. And I love Justin Herbert irrationally, so the Chargers had to be 10 for me. That's why. All right.
That's understandable, and I would much rather watch the Chargers anyways. Number 9, I have Cowboys, and I know the Cowboys are higher up on your list. I don't trust Dak. He doesn't look right. He hasn't looked right the last couple of weeks. That's about all I got on the Cowboys, though.
It's actually their defense that has them higher on the list than their offense right now. I think their offense can figure it out. I don't think Dak's healthy. I mean, the way he was firing the ball around early in the season, it's not close. Speaking of which, my 9th team, they look the same. It's the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
They're not trustworthy at all. Kyler Murray can't make it through a full season healthy. I mean, he's like my size, but shorter. That's a problem. I would be dead after one NFL game. And so they look bad. They ruined a bet this weekend for me too. Just ruined it.
Well, they really miss Hopkins. But you hit it spot on. I mean, and I have the Cards at 7, and that's more of if they get healthy, I think they're still one of the easily top 8 teams in the NFL. But did you see the gif of the whoever played for the Deadskins quarterback last week? Can't even think of his name.
Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert, where he was about to get sacked, and he made like this look of pure terror. He was like, as he's about to just get pummeled. To me, that's Kyler every single play, because not only is he getting pummeled in the pocket, he's running all over the place. He's probably the fastest quarterback I've ever seen. I mean, maybe Vic was a little quicker.
Hamster.
But the problem is you run that fast, you're also just getting hit harder by guys that are 3 times your size. I don't ever see him making it through an entire NFL season. And this has happened every single year, right about this time of the year. He's too banged up to be productive.
Yep. All right. Who's your team number 8? The Ocho.
So 8, I've got the Niners.
Right now? Me too.
It is. Yep. And I don't have a lot of analysis, and Joe, I'm sorry, but I have not watched a lot of 49ers. I've listened to podcasts that talk about the 49ers, and that's about all I got.
They're up 10-0 on your Titans right now as we
I told you not to bet the Titans.
Kyle saved me money tonight. I was going to bet the Titans money line. Thank goodness. They're not on my list, by the way, the Titans. I don't trust them at all.
I've got them at 13.
Okay, that's about where I'd have them too, which is crazy considering their record and that if they won tonight, they pretty much clinched the division. Speaking of the division,
they're also not going to win that division.
Number 7 for me is the Indianapolis Colts. What about you?
Okay. Number 7 is Cards.
Oh yeah, you're the Cards there. It might be high. What if the Cardinals beat the Colts? We can just knock the Colts off the list probably. But Jonathan Taylor right now is outside of his mind. They won that game against the Pats last week. Carson Wentz completed 5 passes for 57 yards and was dying to throw more than 1 interception. He was awful. But their defense and Jonathan Taylor can solve a lot of problems. And so I like the Colts. It scares me to say it because I got to go to Arizona on Saturday, and that could really put a torpedo in their season. But if they win that game, I think they really might win the division, which is pretty wild considering where they came from.
Correct.
So you have the Cards, which we've already covered, and
Yep.
pretty good chance the Cards keep falling. And if the Cards lose to the Colts this week, you start talking about like 7 seed situations for a team that was 7-0. So
correct.
All right, that leads us to number 6. You have
the Pats.
Pats. All right, I have the Cowboys.
Okay.
Pats. I have Pats higher, believe it or not, and I hate them with all of my being.
So, to me, it's more just I'm scared of betting on a rookie quarterback in the playoffs. Honestly, I mean, I think their floor is really, really high. I guess their ceiling could be a Super Bowl because I don't trust any of the teams in front of them either. But to me, it doesn't look like Belichick fully trusts his quarterback, so it's kind of a limited offense, which is not great for the playoffs.
I agree. I just trust the infrastructure there, and maybe I'm being stupid about that, but we'll see. Anyhow, let's get to number 5 because Pats are 4 for me, actually.
Okay.
You have the
Colts
Rams
at 5.
Or you have the Colts?
Colts at 5.
All right. I have the Rams at 5.
Okay.
I'm hot and cold with them. I picked them to win the Super Bowl at the start of the year. I could still see it happening, but Stafford scares me to death. He doesn't look healthy still, maybe healthier. Their wide receiver situation is all of a sudden pretty dire, actually, after Cooper Kupp, who was leading the league in receptions by like 40 catches and he's leading even all the running backs in fantasy points this year. Is unbelievable.
He's on track to break the receiving record if he has a couple like 130-yard games to end the season.
Yeah, he's unreal. And the extra game doesn't hurt. But besides that, Higbee, not good. I thought he was going to be good this year. He's not been good. Van Jefferson is fine. Odell had 1 catch for 7 yards last week. I don't know. Their running back situation is not good. So I don't know. I mean, they had a nice win against the Cards, but then the Cards went and lost to the Lions. So what am I supposed to do with all that? I don't know.
Be confused?
Yeah, I am. Cardinals cost me significant change last week. Well, like $30. Anyhow. So who'd you have at 5?
At 5, I had the Colts.
The Colts.
4, I have the Rams.
Wow, the Colts at 5.
The Colts have been awesome since week 5.
Colts have Carson Wentz as their quarterback.
I mean, do you trust any of these other quarterbacks that much more?
I mean, if Matthew Stafford were on the Colts, they would be like 12-3. Just letting you know. That's all.
Fair.
Not Mac Jones. I don't trust Mac Jones more, but the Pats team I trust more, and their coaching staff I trust way more. So that's why they have them at 4. And I'm going to assume you have the Rams at 4.
I do have the Rams at 4. Yep.
Okay. For me, the Pats have been playing really well and have gotten better as the season has gone on. And they're just going to be as stupid and annoying, and it's going to be snowing in Foxborough, and they're going to win some game 17-13. And then we're going to be talking about them in the AFC Championship game, and I'm going to be putting my head in a blender. Like, I can't handle this again with the Pats. Again. But the Colts finally beat them, so that was nice. So
yeah, and that game looked like it was going to be a beatdown. I mean, obviously it got a little close late.
It did get
that
dicey.
That had to feel good as a win as a Colts fan, which I was not thrilled about it sitting in beat-ups, but it is.
Well, you don't like the Pats either. What are you going to do? So
it's fair.
All right. I think I'm sure our final 3 are the same, but I'm guessing I have one out of order from you because I went a little weird with my number 1 spot. So who do you have at 3?
I have the Bucs at 3.
Me too. They're weird too. They lost 9-0 to the Saints last week. Godwin's out for the year. Fournette will not be back until the playoffs at least. Mike Evans is probably going to play this week. They get Antonio Brown back because he, speaking of COVID corner, has maybe a real vaccine card instead of a fake one now. Wide receivers, man. But it's hard to argue against Tom Brady in the playoffs. It just seems like he always gets it done. But I will say this. Last time we saw him with mediocre weapons, if all these guys stay banged up,
didn't look great.
it did not look great. And last week we saw him with mediocre weapons, and it looked. I mean, the best pass he threw might have been the tablet that he chucked over the bench. So I don't know. Weird. So,
but I mean, to me, last week was the first time I've seen Brady's age ever, other than that last year.
I mean, listen, he's 44. I'm 35. Who's got a better head of hair? Not freaking close. Okay. It's just not close. Anyway.
He has a better head of hair right now than he did his rookie season.
That's also true. His body looks better too. He looked a little dumpy.
Faster. Michigan. He looks faster.
He had a couple of runs a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh my gosh, look at this guy go. Yeah.
Is this D Flash Gordon out there?
Yeah. I played against D Gordon. Anyhow, number 2.
I've got the Chiefs at number 2.
See that I thought ours would be flipped. I had the Packers at 2 and the Chiefs at 1, and I went back and forth on it. The Packers look like the best team right now. I think I agree with you on that. But I just have this feeling that by the end of the season, the Chiefs are going to be rolling and their defense is back and Mahomes looks great. Now, granted, it doesn't look like Hill or Kelsey is going to play this week because of COVID. But this reminds me of when the Pats didn't win with Moss and Welker and stuff. And then it looked like it wasn't going to work. And then they kind of retooled around defense. And then Brady wasn't lighting it up, but they had a more complete team. And I think the Chiefs team might be really complete now. And their offense looks better. But Rodgers is making it look so easy. And if they get Bakhtiari back and some other guys back that are still counting on Jair Alexander, they might be untouchable, which I'd be okay with. I kind of would enjoy Rodgers getting a second one. He's been the most talented quarterback in the NFL for most of his career, and to only have 1 Super Bowl is pretty wild.
It is strange. And honestly, I mean, I've never been a Packers fan at all. One of my best friends, huge Packers fan. I enjoy them losing. But yeah, I don't really want to see another Chiefs Super Bowl.
I kind of do. I would love to see Mahomes versus Rodgers. I don't care. I mean, I would be fine with Rodgers winning, but I think Mahomes versus Rodgers would be incredible. It's kind of like those are the two guys that Brady is the greatest, and no one can argue this. And I don't know if anyone's ever getting there. But the most talented, it's Rodgers and Mahomes. Those are the guys. Brady just has success, and he can't be touched. But I think
to me, it's Rodgers, Mahomes, and Manning would be your top 3 most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen in my lifetime. And but I mean, you can't argue with Brady.
Can't do it. Can't be done. That's the thing. Just some mind-boggling coaching decisions that have led to a couple of his. I mean, if Pete Carroll runs the ball, that one's gone. If Kyle Shanahan runs the ball, that one's gone. And then all of a sudden we're talking about a guy who's, still got 5, so whatever. But it's a little different.
But probably should have won at least one of those giant Super Bowls.
Correct, Amundo.
Fairness.
You didn't like all the holds that didn't get called on the David Tyree catch. You didn't like them because I liked it. Anyhow, no, definitely. And Wes Welker could have caught the one ball that would have ended that one game.
I feel like you're in slow motion right now. Am I even unfrozen?
No, you're unfrozen to me.
Okay.
Everything looks good on my end.
Says my internet connection's unstable, so this is my bad.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like our personalities too, so that's fine. All right. Well, that's what we've got sports-wise. I wanted to run through this because Joel and I did top 10 a while back, and both of us had the Ravens near the top. They're not on here. The Bills near the top. It's weird. It's been a weird season, and the Pats probably at that time were like 2-4, 3-4, and now are in really good shape. So weird year for sure.
Well, the same with the Niners. I mean, the Niners are dead.
We could play back that part of the podcast where we talked about the 49ers and how frustrated he was. And since then, they've looked outstanding. So who knows? It's weird. All right. You said you got 2 things you hate this week. I'm interested.
Oh, we got to do Super Bowl picks.
New Super Bowl pick. Go. Give me yours.
Yep. All right, I got the Chiefs, and then I've got a combination of the Bucks, Packers, and 49ers.
You can't do that. There can't be 3 teams in the Super Bowl in one conference.
I'm gonna go Packers, and I know that's a cop-out pick because those are my top 2 in the power rankings. But to me, That's the most likely. So, I'd like it to be the 49ers. You know what? I'm changing that. Chiefs Niners. Let's go. Jimmy G,
Chiefs,
Super Bowl.
Niners. Good for you. I'd like to pick the Rams. That's what I picked at the beginning. Picked Rams, Browns. LOL.
I picked the Browns as well. Yeesh.
But I don't think I can do it. To me, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Brady versus Mahomes. I don't know. Just feels like Brady always finds a way, and the Packers always find a way to mess it up. So
It's fair.
Brady Mahomes, with Mahomes winning it, and if Brady beats Mahomes again, like Mahomes can never catch him. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty. I mean, that was even a really important crossroads for greatest ever last year. If Mahomes beats Brady, gets his second. Brady only has 6. Mahomes can get there. I don't think Mahomes can even get there now. But if he would lose another one to him, you might as well just seal the tomb. That's not happening. So, all right. Oh, who's your MVP? You got an MVP right now? Who would be your pick in the NFL if it ended right now?
I think it's probably Rodgers.
Me too. People don't want to vote for him because of all the stuff, but I mean, you look at
it's not a popularity vote though. It's to me, it's all a performance
I'm not
vote.
saying I wouldn't. I would vote for him.
Yeah.
And my next guy would be Jonathan Taylor. Those would be my 2 picks. But it's Rodgers right now, and it's pretty wide margin, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Not Baker Mayfield? Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, you could have made the Brady argument until last week. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, you might as well not play it.
Yeah, that was a tough time. So, all right. Well, your team still is not scored any points, 10-0, and
shocking.
AJ Brown, who we put in at the last minute into our fantasy lineup, is 3 for 12. So great.
Okay, great.
But at least it's 1 point PPR. All right. Things you hate. You said you have 2. I have a couple that I'm scared to share, so I'm thinking about how I can do them tactfully. Go ahead.
Okay, so number 1, we're back to the NBA, and both of these are NBA related. White basketball fans that feel persecuted, and we're talking about fan bases in general here, and I'm mainly looking at the Thunder and the Jazz. I hate the Thunder and the Jazz. I hate the fan bases. I'm so tired of hearing about Gobert screen assists and how disrespected the Thunder were back in the day. Neither one of these franchises have won anything in my entire lifetime and think they're the greatest things of all time. And I fully understand the argument that the Lakers and teams like the Knicks, who are horrendous this year and have played the easiest schedule in the NBA and are still under 500, get way too much coverage. And if I hear one more thing about Taylor Horton Tucker, I'm just going to break every electronic in my house. That being said, the Thunder actually are surprisingly adequate this year with how bad I thought they were going to be. But you didn't win anything. I love Giddey. I love him. But you didn't win anything with Durant, Harden, Westbrook, and Ibaka. I mean, you had 4 All-Stars on your team at one time, and you won 0 NBA Finals. And with the Jazz, you didn't win with Stockton and Malone. You're not going to win with Gobert and Mitchell. I'm tired of hearing about it.
I like that one a lot. Well, the Thunder stole the Sonics, and that team should still be in Seattle. And the Jazz, it's widely chronicled that fan base is like racist beyond
super. That's
let me be careful. I'm not saying that all the Jazz fans are racist, but all the players comment that they get the most really nasty racial stuff in Utah. So good job by you, Mormons. Anyhow,
so I do think our reach is probably not going to reach Salt Lake City. So I think
I know. I just want to be careful because I'm sure many of their fans are wonderful people, and some of them are complete dirtbags, and it appears a higher percentage than generally.
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
Second thing you hate.
Next, but still NBA. So NBA athletes that cannot get in shape just drives me insane.
It's bad, man. It's your job.
And there's a lot of them right now. I mean, Zion, holy moly. He might never play again.
He looks like he ate me and then showed up to camp.
He looks like he ate 3 of you.
Yeah, well, maybe.
It's unbelievable. And along those lines, Luka.
Yep, I knew that was next.
Get your crap together. And then you just go down the rabbit hole. Shaq, obviously, the lost potential there that's the all-timer, probably. That being said, still probably the greatest center I've ever seen in my life. James Harden has to be on that list. Baron Davis, one of the few guards that's on that list. Eddie Curry could have been awesome. Dexter Pittman could have been awesome. DeMarcus Cousins. Now, DeMarcus Cousins benefits from being huge, but if he's at this point in his career, you got to get a little bit lighter. Raymond Felton.
Oh,
just looked like a literal tomato. And then Darren Williams, not so much that Darren Williams didn't benefit from being big, but it really shortened his career. So
I got one for you. This is a way back machine. This is too early for you. Oliver Miller. Go look up at some pictures of Oliver Miller. I mean, to say he ate himself out of the league is doing a disservice to like, it is unbelievable, unreal. So yes, it was drugs in the 80s, a lot of cocaine and stuff, and now it's.
Which how is that making you overweight though? Is what I'm not understanding.
No. The cocaine didn't make people overweight. It's what got people out of the league. No, you can't be overweight if you take cocaine. There's no way. But no, now it's like our two like real faces of the future for the NBA can't get themselves to get to camp in shape, and it's killing their teams. And as someone who is thankfully doesn't have a bunch of money invested in their sports cards, let me tell you, it's killing people. Between that and the Ben Simmons stuff, 3 of the guys that people heavily invested in the last 5 years or so are. I think Luka's still the safest of those 3 by far, but get in shape, Luka, for goodness sake. All right, that's good.
He's like 260.
All right, jeez. Great. Okay. My thing I hate was actually is actually really piggybacks well on that. I was mentioning this to someone I work closely with last night. One of my pet peeves, and this is true of athletes, and it's true of people I work with, and it's true of people all over the place, is the misunderstanding that the ability to show up is a skill and a marketable skill. If you don't take care of your body well enough to ever be healthy, to just show up to work, that's a problem and something you have to fix. I work at a church, so we have a lot of grace for people, and I don't fire anyone unless it's like for reasons much worse than that. But and wouldn't, because I love the people I work with. But being on time and where you're supposed to be with regularity is an important skill. And eventually people just aren't going to work with you if you can't. I mean, this has happened in the NFL a bunch with like, again, wide receivers who just become so undependable. Teams say, you know what, we're better without you. And those people are making millions of dollars. You're making not nearly that. Like, there's a certain level you should strive for. And so that's something that has annoyed me recently, but I'll leave it at that because I don't want to go any further. And then I will also, nope, I'm not going to say that. We're going to move on. I'm trying to keep myself out of trouble these days. You know what I'm saying?
It's a wise choice. Right. It's your birthday. No more hot water.
It is my birthday, and I'm getting old. Do you have anything family fiasco related?
Oh, I do. And remember, I told you to remind me of this one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember if I've even told you this story or not. So this is an Ivy fiasco, and this is a day-long event. So I had off of work. I took a PTO day after we had taken a couple. I don't remember what we did. Anyways, I had the Monday off when I got back. So I was working on our basement apartment. We have 2 apartments above and below the garage. So I was working on the apartment all day. Amanda gets home and oh, no, I missed the start of it. So before that, first thing I did was I took a load of metal to Omnisource, which is basically a metal recycling place. You actually get paid instead of having to pay to go to the dump. So I took the dogs with me because the dogs was like a field trip because I didn't have to go to work on Monday. And she has figured out how to open windows. So I am in the bed of my truck. I left it running because it was going to just take me a couple minutes, hucking metal shelves and this metal shower lining out into this massive dump, and all of a sudden Ivy is just running around the dump. She has put the window down and just let her and Sullivan out. Now Sully actually is too scared to get out, so he's just like whining at the window opening, but she's just trucking around, could have cut her feet to high heaven. So that's the start of the day. And then I'm working on the apartment the whole rest of the day. Amanda gets home, comes down, checks it out. She had bought a salad from Martin's, so it's in a Martin's bag and like a little plastic container. Set it on the stovetop. And Ivy she's a bit of a counter surfer, so she normally checks out whatever we've got up there. And she apparently hit the stove knob, and she turned the stove on. She lit it. It's a gas stove. She lit it. So Amanda comes up, and there are just flames shooting up in our kitchen. Lord. And freaking Iverson has set our house on fire. And I mean, it was a simple matter of turning the knob and then a little bit of water, and everything was fine. But so, yeah.
Oh, you got to have kids. Your dogs are out of control. I don't know that I have a great family fiasco, which is ridiculous because we haven't been doing these a lot lately. But Things have been fairly calm around here, honestly. Ben tries to put his hand in his poop every time he changes diaper, but that's, now he knows. He knows when he goes to reach, he says, yucky, but he does it anyways. Freaking ridiculous. But Kate just turned 4, which is wild to me, and Micah will turn 7 in a week or so. I guess 2 weeks. So, and part of a family fiasco, Kyle forgot Kate's birthday, which he felt bad about, but it's okay. There's a lot going on this time of year. So,
Micah's January 13th?
Nope.
15th?
No.
Dang it.
This is a true family fiasco.
Dang it!
You texted me the right date the other day.
Is it the 14th?
Still no, not getting closer.
Oh, no.
It's the 5th. January.
It's in my phone. I've got a reminder. I have a reminder.
Yeah.
I now have a calendar as my lock screen. See, your birthday right there. Mom's just came up.
Mom's was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah.
Micah's is or Kate's is the 13th. Okay.
Kate's is December 13th. All right. This is riveting podcast content.
Hey,
right.
I mean, now you'll get multiple good wishes. Well wishes,
there you go.
Whatever they are.
There you go. And very excited. Kyle and the family helped buy this like indoor climbing thing for the kids, and they're going to love it. So I'm excited about that. All right. Do you have anything to recommend before we go, or anything else you want to talk about quickly?
We skipped Crowfax. Come on.
You have them? You
didn't
tell me you had them in the rundown.
I told you I have Crowfax for like the next 36 weeks.
All right. I think we're going to do that many more podcasts. I hope so. I enjoy it. All right.
All right. So Ravens actually are active politically.
Like Lamar Jackson.
So yeah, a little Biden-esque. So it's not really actual politics, but they're kind of conniving. So the dominant pairs keep tabs on the strengths and weaknesses of their peers. So if they see an individual that they think is going to pose a threat, kind of friend up and like get a little too close to another individual that they think is going to be another threat or a significant rival to like basically the head of the murder of crows. They'll actually physically break them up and prevent them from seeing each other. So they literally just stop that friendship right there.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually incredible and kind of terrible.
It's kind of cold-hearted.
It is.
So just don't make good crow friends, I guess, is the moral of that
story.
Sounds
like middle school. Sounds like middle school, pretty much. Yeah. All right. I'm glad we got that in there because people like Crowfax a lot. Should have done it earlier. All right. Do you have anything to recommend? You watched anything interesting lately?
Oh, I've got a couple things. So one, these pretzels are making me thirsty. We've been watching Seinfeld, and it's fantastic. Yes. And because you recommended it, yeah. I've seen episodes on and off in the past, and I've never just like sat down and actually gotten into it. And we decided that the X-Files are just the same episode over and over again. So we made the switch, and it's a good lighthearted kind of let you rewind or unwind at the end of the day. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. When that show came out, you would have had to rewind, but
correct.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny to also see like the hairstyles and stuff.
Oh man,
it's great.
The tough time. I mean, Elaine rocks that like scrunchy half thing the entire show, basically.
Yeah.
And Jerry's got
like the
terrible curl,
and and the mullet with the Jerry curl.
Yeah, unbelievable. But then there's Newman. It's just the best. All right,
great.
That's. Really, we've still been watching Seinfeld. It's pretty much the deal. So I don't really have a lot else to recommend, except it's Christmas time. So this is rapid fire recommendations. 3 Christmas movies for the people. Go.
Oof.
I'll go.
Elf.
Yep. 1.
Home Alone movies.
Okay. You can take that one. I'll take Die Hard. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Yes.
I've never seen Die Hard.
What? That's my recommendation. You have to watch that this week before we get back on the podcast. We're not coming back till after the new year probably, but we'll talk. Actually, maybe we'll try to do January 1st and talk the college football playoff games and so on. I don't even know what day that is. Saturday. Okay, so we got Elf, Home Alone movies, Die Hard. I lost my turn. Oh, Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? Is that a good list?
I think so. I'm not a huge Christmas movie guy.
Right.
I do have a show to recommend that I haven't actually seen, but I'm super pumped because I've read the books.
The Witcher.
The Wheel of Time.
Oh.
Well, The Witcher's. I haven't seen season 2 of The Witcher yet.
Me neither. Just came out.
And that's not. I haven't read those books either. I had video games, but The Wheel of Time. Those books were awesome. So watch the show.
15 of them.
There's a lot of them, and
I've watched 4 episodes of the show.
Is it good?
It's fine.
Well, read the books then, because the books are great.
It might get better. I don't know. It's fine so far.
It's Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan, and they're awesome.
Yeah. Emily doesn't love it, so we've stopped watching it, but I'll probably catch up at some point. But now I got The Witcher, and I still got to finish Seinfeld. So
The Witcher's good. At least season 1 was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty wild. All right. Well, thanks for doing this. I'm going to go see what my wife is up to. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, everybody. We love you. Hope you get all the gifts you could ever dream of. I was very sad today. Well, not sad, but, Emily got me some great stuff. This is Emily's style. Emily bought me 5 pairs of shorts from like khaki and gray and shorts because she knows I need shorts, and she just bought a whole bunch, and then she'll return a bunch when I decide which ones I want. That's what Emily does. It's hilarious, but very endearing. And but she also bought me a nice Guardians quarter zip because I asked for some Guardians gear since they're the Guardians, not the Indians now. And they sent women's size instead on accident. So I don't have that yet, which is too bad. But I got a Ted Lasso Diamond Dogs shirt.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's my gosh. I'm going to wear that probably 20 times in the next 30 days. Very exciting. I'm very excited. So Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope it's great. I hope you get all the ponies and Xboxes and whatever that you want, and spend some time with your family. They're worth it.
Yep. Stay out of COVID corner.
Yeah. So far, so good here. We tested Micah this morning, negative. She's sniffly. You got your apartment mate. So, yeah, stay safe out there.
In-laws are on lockdown. It's going to be a great Christmas.
Careful. Can't say that out loud. All right.
She's directly behind me.
I know. Fine. Bye, Amanda. See you later.
See you.